Hello readers and digital people, and welcome back to GP Reads. I am your host, Grant Reads, and today we are talking about Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Oh boy. It was not the movie I was expecting, but in the best way possible. So, I went into the movie with very low expectations, because I didn't like how they ended Spider-Man, so I was expecting a really good movie, maybe a really good popcorn flick. And then with an ending that was supposed to subvert expectations, but actually was a slap to the face, kind of like that. Let's just say I had Marvel on probation, but I was very pleasantly surprised. Not only did they take the multiverse situation, actually progress the story forward in a way that made sense, and actually prove that they could handle a story about a multiverse and not try to overcomplicate it or use it to make a reboot or jump timelines, but actually make a progressive story that furthered the character of Doctor Strange. And it was actually a Doctor Strange sequel and not just a segue for other movies. Yes, there was a lot of doors open that can progress into other storylines, but no, it wasn't just that. It was definitely a Doctor Strange movie, which is awesome. That's great. That's what I was most afraid of. I was afraid that they would take it and use it as a sequel to Spider-Man No Way Home and make that the brunt end of the focus, and then use it to transfer into the multiverse, whatever they're going to do next. I was afraid this was just going to be a segue movie, but it wasn't. Not at all. This movie was Doctor Strange. It was going further into his character, going into his weaknesses, going into the alternate versions of him, and how he can become something he's not. And to really show us this is the prime Doctor Strange. This is the Doctor Strange that will remain good even in difficult situations. When he has to make difficult decisions, he can, but he can also grow. Because we see a lot of growth, a lot of development for Doctor Strange in this movie. Also, we get to see how freaking amazing some of his powers are. Now let's get into Scarlet Witch, my personal favorite character in this movie. Yes, it was also a Scarlet Witch movie. I could see that being a shared movie, but it was Doctor Strange-centric, and she more so took on the bad guy role. So, you know, you could have a main character, a main hero, and a main villain, and it still be the character, the main hero's movie. And it was. They were both main characters, but they were in opposing positions. I really like what they did with Scarlet Witch because they, at the end of Wandavision, for those who've not seen Wandavision, this is a little bit of a spoiler alert, so you may want to go off if you haven't seen that yet. But if you're going to see this movie, which I highly recommend seeing it as soon as possible, it is amazing in 3D. I usually don't watch movies in 3D, but this one definitely deserves it with all the special effects, the reality warping, just, you know, all the Doctor Strange things in the mirror dimension and all that. It looks awesome in 3D. Very much worth the extra couple bucks for the 3D. And it's not as crowded. You're more likely to actually get a seat if you go for 3D because people, by default, choose 2D. So, just something to keep in mind if you're going to watch it this weekend. Wanda, when we saw her last in WandaVision, she was kind of broken down. She lost everything. Even this fake reality she'd made, she lost. She lost everything again. So now, you know, she's looking for a way to find substance again, but instead of looking in her own life, she looked into the multiverse. And she realized in every iteration of herself, she had children. Except for this one. So now she feels like the odd man out. She's like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and destroy this reality and jump over to another one, because this reality sucks, and the rest are better. Not realizing, not thinking that even though it's an alternate dimension, that the people in that dimension are still real. The millions or trillions or infinite copies of herself are all still real people. So in her trying to hurt the other version of herself, she's actually hurting another person. And her collapsing our universe or trying to escape our universe, you know, escaping it and not caring that it collapses, she's potentially harming all of us. And we're all real people. Even though we're a different version, we're still real people. And she completely forgot about that because she was so blinded by her sadness. And, you know, I've been through some things where sometimes I wish I could jump to an alternate reality. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care what happens here. I'll just get over to this other dimension. They'll be my new real people. I've thought of that. But you get to that point where you're like, well, they're real people too. The people here are real too. Even though there's a version of them over there and they're basically the same, they're not the same. Even if they're one-to-one the same, there's still two iterations and you're still killing a living being. A humanoid, an intelligent being. Regardless. So that's why I would back away from the situation. But I do relate to where she's coming from. I really do. So the sympathetic villain is a really good villain. It's a villain you can put yourself in the shoes of. So that way it's not just your black and white cookie cutter, bad guy, good guy. It's person trying to save people versus person that isn't exactly bad. They're doing something bad because they're hurt, trying to find some peace, trying to find goodness in an alternate route. And that's a really interesting angle. I love when movies go that way. It takes it away from just your standard popcorn film to a thinker, you know, to a complex film. Something you really have to digest, and I love that. I love when there's a depth, when there's a deeper level of meaning to a movie. So they definitely hit that nail on the head. Effects were gorgeous. The story made sense. The pacing was good. There was never a dull moment, but it never felt rushed. I really liked how America was portrayed. Very close to the comics. Well, some of the comics. And her having her whole life situation was very, very well put together. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed seeing that situation. There were some scenes that were really dark and really scary organically, and I actually jumped and actually got nervous in some portions. And it's so odd because some of those portions were with Scarlet Witch, and she was terrifying, but at the same time, like, well, it's still Wanda. And you could see those moments of humanity where she's like, she would come to him and she's like, this is me trying to hold back. I don't want to destroy everything. She was still human. Even though she'd been corrupted at that point, she was still human, still Wanda. And there was still some semblance of trust in her. You could still trust her because that good person's still in there, but she's at war with herself, at war with this bad portion of herself. It's so intense, so interesting, and it really brings you into the character, makes you care. You actually care about the stakes here because she has stuff to lose, and so do we. So does Doctor Strange. Everybody had something to lose. It was hard to pick a side at some points because you didn't want anybody to hurt, but I mean, at the same time, she was destroying an entire universe, possibly, causing them to collapse in on each other, because if you blend the world lines and jump too much, you can cause two universes to collapse, so that's bad. So I get that she was bad, but I'm saying she wasn't completely a lost cause, or someone that you want to root for the loser. You kind of wanted her to win too, but not win in that way. You kind of wanted her to find herself and to find some semblance of peace. So I loved that dynamic so much. Something else they did really well. This is going to get again into spoiler territory. If you don't want spoilers, you may want to skip this part. I'll have it in the time code. But they did an excellent portrayal of the Illuminati. That was so cool to see them brought into film. You've got Mr. Fantastic, you had Dr. Xavier, then you had Black Lightning, I think his name is? Black Thunder, Black Lightning. And you had the rival of Doctor Strange. So they really made it Doctor Strange-centric, even in the Illuminati. And it turns out that they had actually destroyed a corrupted version of Doctor Strange. Now, I don't really agree with them doing that. He felt remorse during the wartime of Endgame for collapsing a universe. But I mean, he already felt remorse for it. He'd already saved everyone. So I don't agree with them destroying him. I don't know. There was some corruption there. I hope to see in our version of Illuminati some kind of growth there, because there was a lot to be said. But oh my gosh, I knew Scarlet Witch was powerful. I knew she was extremely powerful, but to see that on full display... I know that's breaking subject really quickly, but oh my gosh, she is so crazy, awesome, and powerful. And finding out about the temple and everything, just... Oof. And I don't think she's dead. When she collapsed the temple, I don't think she is dead. Because as it was collapsing, you saw a red poof in the lower parts of the rocks. I think that she teleported. I mean, how else would she destroy all the temples in the universe? Because they didn't say that was the central point that all the different Scarlet Witch was drawing power from. They said that she destroyed that version, or the version in every universe of that temple. I think she went through dimensions and just kind of destroyed them all. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think she's dead, though. The Darkness book and the Light book. Okay, who made the Light book? If the original or primordial or a past incarnation of Scarlet Witch made the Dark book, who made the Light? Was it an Eternal? Was it the Sorcerer Supreme of long ago? I mean, who was it? That's a really good question for Doctor Strange 3. Also, the Eye? In the comics? In the What If comics? It has something to do with, being between dimensions and stuff. In the actual comics, it has very different use than what I think they're going to do with it. I'm not going to spoil that part, because that part's probably going to be spoilers for the next movie. I'll probably leave that for a theory or something. But they really stressed it, didn't they? Especially towards the end, when they showed him getting it. There's something big planned with that going forward. Into either Doctor Strange 3 or in a future Avengers movie or something. But that's definitely going to play a part. That's definitely going to be important. And seeing the training grounds for all of the new sorcerers, seeing how his friend is running the Sorcerer Supreme position, seeing how all that's running, and just learning about all of these things, showing that even though Doctor Strange is extremely powerful, he's not on the level of Wanda, which shows he still has growth to do, because we know he does eventually become that powerful in the comics. Seeing where he's at in his growth and development was really important for the story, I feel like. Really important for him as a character, and really important for the future of his franchise. And again, Marvel did one of the things that Marvel does best, and that is telling a story, and that is giving a lesson. They really communicated well with Wanda to not hold on to dreams too much. Don't get so focused and caught up in a pipe dream that you lose focus on reality and the possibilities of today. Don't try to make your fantasies real so hard that you miss other possibilities, other fantasies that are actually tangible and can actually be good for you. Because in the end, it'll just corrupt you and make you bitter, because some things you just have to face you'll never have. Her kids weren't real, she'll never have that. Even if she jumps to someone else's dimension, they're still not her kids. So there's a very important lesson, not a hard lesson, a harsh lesson. I think this is a very good way to communicate that. So thank you, Marvel, thank you, writers, for taking the time and attention to address something so heavy. I really enjoyed all the angles of this film. I really enjoyed all the angles. I enjoyed seeing all of the new sides of Doctor Strange, all the new possibilities, him and his development with his ex, seeing how that situation went together. Seeing that the multiverse, there's other versions of her that still love him. Just kind of opening all of those doors, getting everything ready for what's next to come. They opened so many doors for the rest of the Marvel franchises. They opened doors for Doctor Strange. They made a cohesive story, a decently paced story. It's among my favorites. Honestly, it's probably my favorite film within Phase 4. I think we're still in Phase 4. It'd be my favorite film in Phase 4, and it's one of my all-time favorite Marvel movies. Period. Very well done. Very, very well done. Surprises around every corner, scary parts, funny parts, and they didn't leave us disappointed in any way. At least, they didn't leave me disappointed anyway. Everything I expected and more was in this film, and there was no plot twists that were just to subvert expectations that leave us with a bitter taste in our mouth. Even though the endings weren't the happiest in all situations, it wasn't a popcorn film, it wasn't your standard save the girl, good guys win situation either. Everything turned out in a way that made sense and that left you satisfied. Maybe not happy, but satisfied, and that's all you can ask for in a film like this. So I definitely recommend seeing it. I gotta watch it again. I really do have to see it a second time. There is so much in this film. You will not catch it all. Even if you're sitting there taking notes, there's something you're not going to catch, because so freaking much is going on throughout the whole movie as they're jumping through the dimensions, jumping through the multiverse, the little things in the background. There's so many little details, so many things they said in quick succession that was a little bit hard to follow on some points. Of course, the movie itself had a good flow, but the little lore tidbits were very quickly paced because they were jumping through the multiverse throughout most of this movie. Very well done, very, very well executed method of doing a film like that, because that kind of film is hard to do, which is also why I had it on probation, but they did it. So definitely recommend. If you love Doctor Strange, you'll love this movie. If you like Marvel, you'll probably like this movie. If you like Spider-Man No Way Home, you'll like this movie, because it is a continuation in a way, just a little bit. They didn't focus or stress on that, but that was the door for this film existing. So definitely recommend it if you like that movie. I cannot wait to see what Marvel does next. Hope you all have a great day. Thank you all for listening. I love you all very much, and I'll see you in the next one. And until then, keep your eyes wide open and never stop reading. I'll see you all. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my patrons and channel members. Thanks to you, I'm able to do what I love. All proceeds go back towards the channel for props, for costumes, and for any trips we take or any games we play. CNK114, Investigator Zeus, Dobby's Music, Jerry Mullins, Free Spirit Katie, Poof Poof, MC Darfer, Vexus, and Agnieszka Goronska. Really, thank you all so much for allowing me to do what I love to do.